Today, I'm here to talk to you about the labels people put on us and how these labels change our life stories. Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard has said, "Once you label me, you negate me." Negating, in my view, not only means denying the existence of my truth, but also my potential. One common way we allow others to negate us is by letting anyone other than ourselves to write our life stories for us. In the field of social psychology, there is a phenomenon called stereotype threat. It was first used by Steele and Aronson in 1995. According to the idea of stereotype threat, individuals belonging to stereotype groups can be affected by just reminding them of their group membership. And then what happens? They begin to conform to the negative stereotypes others have put on them, and their performance gets worse. For example, research shows that stereotype threat negatively affects the academic performance of Hispanic individuals. And it affects the math performance of women. It even affects the math performance of white men in the presence of Asian math superiority stereotype. Stereotype threat has also shown to affect working memory itself, making it that much more harder to do complex and intellectual tasks. Now, I'm going to tell you my story. I'll share with you the impacts of stereotype threat in my life. I will explain how I started to resist the labels put on me and took back my life and started to write my own life story. While I talk to you on this topic, I ask you to consider the following question. Who writes your life story? I was born in a very tiny village in South India where there was no running water inside homes. People went into the woods to use for toilet. I was born into a caste called Maravas, classified by our state government as most backward caste or denotified community. India has a rigid social hierarchy of caste system for thousands of years. Maravas means bravery, but they're also called as robbers due to the history of highway robbery. The British, who ruled India for a long time, have officially labeled our community as habitually criminal. I can give you some examples for these sorts of behaviors in my community. For example, my paternal grandfather stole goats. My maternal grandfather cut a man's leg off and was chased out of the state by police. Even today, in my native village, none of my first cousins have earned a high school diploma. It is widely believed in my community that top-notch education belongs to the light-skinned, higher caste Brahmins. Being born into the Marava community, academic expectations in my life was quite low, but potential for stereotype threat was quite high. In that region, light skin is still often more highly praised than education. While growing up, it is not unusual for teachers of light skin, higher caste to beat students in the classroom. Almost always, the brunt of the burden falls on lower caste students. I I was no exception. In fact, I was one of the worst academically performing students in the class. So, I was expected to be beaten, sometimes brutally assaulted. For me, this kind of violence inside the classroom made me lose interest in academics itself. Although I continued to attend school, I didn't listen to students or didn't believe that learning could help me in any way or any form. Years went by. I just drifted away, performing academically in the abysmal ranks. When I reached 8th grade, I was made to repeat the year one more time. When I reached high school, my freshman year, the math teacher, light-skinned, higher caste, will bring the graded papers with the good grades at the top and the bad grades at the bottom, and will start distributing the papers. When it comes to the failed grades, he will pick up the cane and start beating the students who have failed the exam. When it comes my turn to receive the paper, and when I walk up in front of the classroom, he will use all his might to unleash it in my palm. Standing there, receiving 15 to 20 lashes is something. Every time that cane hits my hand, I felt like 1,000 watts of electricity passing through my body. It is very hard to resist tears standing there in front of the class. I will go back home, try to hide my swollen up palms and cracked and bleeding fingers from my mother. I will sit next to her on the floor in the kitchen to eat the food she has made for the day. When my bleeding fingers touches the food she has cooked, the spicy curry where I come from, we eat with bare hands. Spicy curry burns through the fingers and burns the heart, and my floodgates of eyes opens up, and I will cry my heart out. When I reached the senior year of high school, everyone in the school believed I'm going to fail multiple subjects. It is a big deal because the state government conducts the senior exam, and graduation rate brings honor or disgrace to the school. I didn't care one way or the other. I was accustomed to living by the labels others had given me. One fine day, the school brought in a science tutor / motivational speaker. He talked about setting goals and aspiring big. He wrote down the names of local engineering colleges on the board. Where I come from, engineering and medicine are the most coveted programs. He talked about if we all work hard, maybe one or two of us in the classroom can go to the local engineering colleges. I'm the class comedian, so I wanted to make a joke. So I looked at him and said, "Is there a better school than that?" He said, "Indeed. In fact, there's a school called College of Engineering, Guindy, Anna University. It is the oldest engineering school in India. More than 100,000 people write entrance examination, but only 435 seats," he said. I said, I looked at him nonchalantly and said, "Well, that's where I'm going." Everyone in the class laughed. I was so proud of my joke. Went back home, happy. My mom saw my face. This is not the usual face I see my son. She asked me what happened. I told her. What she said was unexpected and surprising. She said, "Why don't you go to that school? If you work hard, you could provide better for the family. Maybe even you could take care of your younger brother with autism after I am gone." Even though those were strong words from my mother, that's not going to change the entrenched belief as a poor academic student overnight. However, a seed was planted at that moment. Within few weeks, I sought out the help of the science tutor / motivational speaker. He was very kind and positive to me. I was thinking, luckily, he didn't have me as a student. He talked about setting goals, aspiring, and he talked about an Indian monk named Swami Vivekananda. He quoted Vivekananda to me. Take up one idea. Make that one idea your life. Think of it. Dream of it. Live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea and just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success, he quoted. I was pumped. Next day, I walked into my computer science teacher's laboratory and I asked him for a printout, Get Anna, my new dream school, Anna University. He looked at me, who's this for? It's for me. Hill, come here. Sit next to me. I went and sat next to him. He asked, have you ever passed mathematics exam in the last 2 years? I said, no, sir. That's what I thought. Even the best students in our school will not get into College of Engineering, Guindy. As far as I know, none from our school history has ever got into that school. If you aspire to pass all the classes and go to college, that is a big accomplishment for you. Setting such a far and big goal will result in disappointment. Although I didn't understand what he was saying at that moment, he was asking me to conform to the labels others have given me. It was a defining moment for me. I couldn't lift my head and look him in the face. I felt so shameful. I mustered every ounce of courage in my body to hold on to that small hope I had and to proceed. I asked him quietly, can I please have the printout? He grudgingly nodded. I went and took the printout, went home, pasted it on the wall, took a long look at it, and I started to study. I studied on average of 5 hours every day for the last 3 months into the state exam. Results came. Everyone in the school was shocked. I have secured an 85% in math and 70% in sciences. I even got into some of the local arts colleges, but none of the engineering colleges are going to give me an admission for that score. My dad said, I am so excited, my son. You have to pick a choice and go. Dad, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to try one more time for College of Engineering, Guindy. He said, you're going to waste a year and not going to have these opportunities you have now. I looked at my mother, and she looked back at me for a long time, and she said, let him try. Research by Aronson and others have shown one common way to reduce stereotype threat is to teach students about the malleability of intelligence itself. Like the muscles in our body, the brain could get stronger by persistent effort and hard work. My mother's words, let him try, made me believe in the malleability of my intelligence. Maybe I can achieve my dream. Maybe I can become as intelligent as other Brahmin students. If only if I tried so hard. That made me think of Swami Vivekananda's quote, take up one idea, make that one idea your life, think of it, dream of it, live on that idea, let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea, and just live on that idea and leave every other idea alone, and this is the way to success. I needed a very specific goal, a score of 285.45, a cumulative score out of the 5 different exams I would retake to get into my dream school. I believed If I scored the 285.45, I don't need to use my affirmative policy of caste. I can compete along with other Brahmin students of the state. But to score that score, I have to study like I have never studied ever in my life. No one has ever done. I promised my mother I will not watch TV for a year. I went and told my friends, I'm not going to be hanging out with you guys for a year. Went home, started studying. I studied 18 hours a day. I slept 4 hours. Months rolled on. I started reducing my food indulgence because I love food. Indulging in food made me more sleepy. As there were only few months remaining to the final exam, I was delirious due to exhaustion, sleeplessness, and no fun. My dad said I was regurgitating chemistry equations in my sleep in the 4 hours. I pushed on. When the results came, I scored a perfect score in mathematics. And 98% in sciences. And I got into my dream school. Here's the kicker. I scored exactly 285.45. Not a 0.01 more, not a 0.01 less. The exact score, I wrote it down, laminated, and carried it around with me in my pocket and looked at it every day. That experience taught me the greatest lesson of my life. I do not need to live by the labels others have given me. Even if those labels are from my parents, teachers, friends, families, relatives, anyone. I create my labels. I write my life story. I am the architect of my life. I've been told I will never amount to anything good in life. I've been told I will never go to a good college. I've been told, just like my caste ancestors, I will end up in jail as a criminal. All those labels were shattered into pieces the minute I got into the dream school. But you would think the labels will end there. It kept coming in different forms, in different ways, through different people, from Indians to Americans. I'm sure some of you have experience with labels. Some of you might not even know that it's happening. I've been told my English would never be good enough because I failed the test of English as a foreign language twice. I've been told I will never ever get a visa to go to the United States, especially after the consulate rejected my visa. I've been told I will never be able to sustain in the United States with almost no money. I've been told I'm not an intellectual. I've been told I don't have the talent to do a doctoral level research. I've been told teaching jobs in the universities and colleges are not easy to come by, so not to bother. I've been told I should drop acting and dancing if I want to be considered as a serious scholar of political science. It turned out to be all those labels are not true. I went on to accomplish all those goals. More. Some labels you shatter one time and move on. Some labels you shatter regularly. For example, when I was told I'm not an intellectual label, I ripped that label and put I am an intellectual. So I set a goal to read 100 nonfiction books every year. For the last 10 years, I've been reading 1,300 plus nonfiction books. And my goal for the next few decades of my life to read 5,000 plus nonfiction books. I am not saying this to brag, but I am telling my audience to remind this is the same kid who stood in front of the class and received those beatings passively, actively stand in front of my university class and encourage my students to identify the labels others have given them and to change those labels. Through that, change their life narratives. Now, I ask my audience, what labels are you carrying that others have given you? Who writes your life story? Thank you very much.